Hi, everybody. This is Mark Smith with Family Tree Brand Life Coaches. I have a follow up for my most recent video about predatory harm anxiety. I got a lot of feedback from people really resonating with the concept of predatory harm anxiety. And so we're going to talk about how can you combat it? How can you heal it? How can you be in a recovery process? So, the name of the video is Practicing Predatory Harm Anxiety Recovery. So, first thing I'm going to do is, for those of you who didn't see the previous video, I'm going to give a definition. Secondly, I'm going to discuss some effective healing therapies if you have the resources to be able to invest in yourself in that way. And thirdly, I'm mainly going to discuss a self-guided recovery process. Excuse me. Psychologist Robert Langs writes a lot about death anxiety, and he called the first of the three types of death anxiety predatory death anxiety, or the fear of being prey. I like to call it predatory harm anxiety, and it arises from a fear of being harmed. So, dear ones out there, how many of us have been harmed? Profoundly, humongously, terrifyingly, humiliatingly harmed to the core of our soul and our being. I had a lovely, caring, wise woman write me on my comment on one of my videos about abandonment, and she said, complex PTSD. Her name is Annie Marie. Very smart lady. She's from Denmark. She wrote complex PTSD and anxiety orders for that matter, and I would add narcissistic abuse syndrome, stem from one underlying emotion, what she would call death anxiety and what I would call harm anxiety. It is the most basic and oldest form of death anxiety. Predatory death anxiety is evoked by a variety of dangerous situations. It could be being mugged, it can be raped, it can be, being in a horrific automobile accident. But those of us who've been narcissistically abused, it's being terrorized and pulverized and emotionally raped by a narcissist. So putting yourself at risk and one's survival at risk, these traumas may be physical, psychological, or both. So Annie Marie wrote, your fear of abandonment is a cover-up for the underlying death anxiety you felt as an infant by your mother's abandonment. So when I was an infant and my mom left me crying in the backyard, and I was screaming bloody murder and turning purple, it was not just that I felt abandoned, it was that I feared death. I feared annihilation. So predatory death anxiety mobilizes an individual's adaptive resources and leads to a fight or flight response. And for so many of us, it's flight. It's becoming frozen. Peter Levine, in his book Waking the Tiger, he talks about sometimes a wild animal, freezes and acts like they're dead as a way to try to live and try to survive a predator. So most of us are, yes, we're warriors and yes, we're fighters, but when we've been deeply bruised and maybe rebruised and rebruised, there's a lot of time in flight. So fighting is an active effort to combat the danger, and flight is an attempt to escape a threatening situation. What this is always expecting the other shoe to drop, and it ain't no little shoe. It's like a humongous combat army boot that's gonna fall, that weighs 30 pounds a boot. It's impending dread in the pit of your stomach. And then after you've been harmed so brutally, many of us then are further harmed by several other narcissists. We not only get it from our parent or parents, either through abuse or abandonment, but then we get it in one big major blow, and then another, and then another, sometimes going on at the same time from multiple directions. One of the comments in this video last week was, I resonated with this because I keep getting surprised hurt over and over again. That's what I'm talking about, being surprise hurt. So this is having fear spirals, picturing the worst possible scenario. I was suffering from this fear of harm anxiety, and in my mind's eye I was picturing horrific outcomes, terrible things. And then I started to be on the road to recovery and fight back. This feeling is a sense of terror. It's knowing that there is no safe place, that you are not safe. It's having hypervigilance about your environment. I mentioned struggling with being in Costco last week, and this week Costco was extra challenging because everybody in town was at Costco. The local Sam's Club closed this past week, and so now everybody goes to Costco. It was made safer because my wife and I ran into Andy Holzman and his wife from Family Tree, and then about 10 minutes later we ran into Karen Henry Smith and her husband at Costco. So it became a safe place. But there were so many people. Sometimes I would sort of send Renda along her way to get something because I couldn't navigate down there because I have this hypervigilance. Distrust doesn't even come close to describing this harm anxiety. It's more than walking on eggshells. It's being terrified about what's going to happen next. It's walking into life shy and broken. It's having a lack of confidence, lacking a zest for living. It's suffering from chronic anxiety, having panic attacks, having muscle armoring, and really fearing death from your own hands. So many people who have been destroyed emotionally ultimately teeter on the verge of suicide. It's having a sense of hopelessness, helplessness, and powerlessness. It's an inability to relax. It's a dark cloud of despair. It's being afraid that not only you might be harmed, but your loved ones may be harmed or die. Here's one that not enough people talk about, I fear, and that is financial fears. The reason I'm going to focus on a self-guided recovery is, let's be honest, most of you watching this video who've been crushed and shattered, your financial life was shattered too, and you ain't got no money. So, but not only to have financial fears, but to obsess about it and to be terrified in the world financially. A source of information about death anxiety is Irvin Yalom's book, Staring into the Sun. Irvin Yalom is 85 years old and he's still writing delightful books. And his book isn't about necessarily narcissistic abuse or predatory harm anxiety, but it's pretty close, talking about death anxiety. So in terms of therapy or treatment, Annie Marie wrote, "This can only be done by working directly with the subconscious mind, either through hypnosis, bilateral work, or EMDR, or meditation, or the rewind technique works wonders if you want to fully recover." Well, if you have the resources to go get some EMDR, go for it. It's the easy button. There's nothing easy about it, but it's easier than other, because it's an avenue to the unconscious. That's amazing. If you can go pay for hypnosis sessions, if you can find a therapist who practices this rewind technique, all of us could meditate though, friends. And I recommend Bella Ruth Napperstack. You can download her meditations off of iTunes, and I've been feasting on them. I've been finding solace and courage and healing with them. So that's what this particular expert recommended for healing that underlying terror. But like I said, I'm just trying to keep it real. Most of you don't even buy books. Money is scarce. And you certainly don't have hundreds or thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars for therapists or treatment centers. You know, when you're hurting this bad, many times people are looking for a savior. And let you in on something. You know who's your savior? Your own self. It isn't going to be your therapist. It isn't going to be your YouTube guru. It isn't going to be God in heaven himself. All those people can help, but ultimately you have a condition that you can treat, that you have to buy into and get busy doing the work yourself. So this is the practice of predatory harm anxiety recovery that I'm espousing, and that is developing agency. Agency has become one of my favorite words, and let me give you my definition. Developing agency is slowly gaining confidence and swagger and reducing fear by exerting power or influence. Let me read that again. Developing agency is you slowly gaining confidence and even gaining swagger and reducing your fears by you exerting power or influence. I want to read a quote by the great Nelson Mandela. He said, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who ultimately conquers that fear." So we're gonna feel fear. We're gonna feel terrified. All you folks know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about a slow developing process of overcoming your inner terror. So in the Bible, David, before he became King David, there was this bully named Goliath who was mocking God's people. and everybody was terrified, and yet David was just, a young man, and he was not even strong enough to wear the armor offered by King Saul. All he had was a slingshot. But you know what? He had confidence. He had slowly developed agency, and he had confidence because he had killed the lion and he had killed the bear. He knew he was a killer. He knew he was lethal. He had gained confidence by slowly moving up. He probably killed a squirrel to start with, and maybe a raccoon. And then, he slowly built up his confidence in his skills and abilities by taking one step after another and developing confidence. I shared with you that because of my predatory fear anxiety, I'm having a hard time returning to my basketball playing grounds, because I'm playing against a bunch of 26-year-olds who are just beasts. They're very, very talented, and I have to carry my load and play really well, or it just feels unsafe and it feels scary. So I've been playing Sunday morning with some lovely Chinese fellows. I'm learning to kill the lion before I kill the bear. And the first time I played there, I didn't play so good. And the second time I played a little better, and last week I played great. It came time toward the end for whoever was going to take the game-winning shot, and they threw it to me, and I knew I could do it, and I made it both times. The cover of this video shows somebody raising their hands as in praise to God, and that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having a release of fear and being filled with praise. So I made a bunch of shots in a row. I made a three, and I went like this, not in praise of God, but just say it's a three-pointer. But it was celebration. It was swagger. And one of the guys said, "He's on fire." So what I'm saying is, as you feel fear in your life, spend time doing things that you're good at. Even if you're not so good at them anymore, gain some mastery. Slowly gain confidence and swagger by reducing fear, by exerting mastery and power and influence. So this process is a process of healing a brain that's really been broken. Many of us suffer from real foggy brain. So do meditation every day. Find a meditation that works for you. Earlier this week, I was feeling fear in my gut. My hands were trembling, and there was just an overwhelming sense that the day held for me stuff that I couldn't handle. And I went to my meditation table, where I get a massage on the table too, and it turned the day around. I spent about 45 minutes doing a guided meditation by Bella Ruth Napperstack, and then I did my meditation on I love myself as if my life depended on it. That book that I shared with you, I love myself as if my life depended on it, where you're just affirming self-love and healthy entitlement. And then I went to praying, and it turned the whole day around. Many times this week as I was driving to work, and I knew I had a full slate of clients, and I felt like, a 6-year-old who is scared. I was praying, help me. And if you pray with that kind of desperation and faith, your prayers will be answered. The other really powerful thing that you have to do is you have to exercise regularly. I want you to hear this. You have to exercise regularly. It's not exercise, it's brain treatment. It's body chemistry treatment. You're not going to become a beast until you change your body chemistry. And you can alter your body chemistry by doing frequent, sweaty, enthusiastic exercise. Another fantastic healing modality is yoga. You know, I've had clients change their whole life just doing yoga. Spending time alone, getting grounded, having time to think, and getting organized. For me, sitting at my desk, paying bills, looking at my schedule, making phone calls that need to be made, we call it adulting. You know, when you feel like a little kid but you make yourself do adult things, that gives you some sense of accomplishment and sense of power. Being on a healthy diet where you're not eating a lot of carbohydrates and sugar, and also losing weight, if you have an issue around weight, will give you confidence and boost your confidence. The next thing is you've got to get enough sleep. If you're not sleeping, you don't have a prayer. You know, life is going to eat you alive. Predators are going to eat you alive. Disease is going to eat you alive. You got to get enough sleep, and whatever it takes. If you need to go to the doctor and get some sleep medication, do it, and get some sleep and get caught up on that. So I talked about fear of financial disaster. It's about having a plan. Renda and I are working together and developing a plan and being a team and having faith and doing our part to make it happen. And then when you press that button and you pay that bill and you're out of debt, or you're closer to out of debt, it's a sense of empowerment. It's a sense of having agency over something that's really scary. So as you're developing this confidence, be careful to also realize your limitations. That's the danger with effective recovery, is you get so much swagger that you think you're invincible. And then you stop meditating and you stop getting enough sleep and you stop praying and you stop doing yoga and you stop exercising, and before long you're back in the soup again. So recognize your limitations, that you have a chronic disease, that if you're blessed and you can use these unconscious methods to heal most of it, then fantastic. Have vulnerability with a team of caring people who have solid recovery. Join us. We have a community with the Church for the Narcissistically Abused that meets every Tuesday night about 8:15-ish Eastern Time. Every Tuesday night, either my wife and I or both of us will be there to facilitate a group conversation. And those of you who are part of the live stream Church for the Narcissistically Abused can also join a new Facebook group that we've opened, that about 30 of you have joined in the first week. So, and of course, also draw sustenance and draw inspiration from watching YouTube videos and listening to books. So, be your own savior. Develop a sense of agency. Slowly banish fear from your heart by gaining confidence and swagger, by exerting power and mastery and influence, and being able to adult and get stronger. And this is all about momentum, my friends. You get a little stronger every day. You take baby steps and you get a little bit stronger. I was working out the other night, and I had not been working out for 3 months with my sort of like relapse because of busyness and the holidays and moving. But my whole body was feeling a sense of momentum, and I was just feeling stronger. And it was just like, this feels good. Tomorrow morning I'm going to play basketball, and I know that I'm going to play great. So I think maybe next week I might head back to the major leagues and play with the beasts, because I've killed the lion and I've killed the bear, and I'm starting to feel a little bit of swagger. So, hey, join our YouTube channel, subscribe, and then you'll be notified when we have videos that come out. Also, join us on Tuesday nights. It's a wonderful, safe, fantastic, encouraging community of people. Also, go to familytreecounseling.com. I've got excellent books on abandonment issues, on narcissistic abuse syndrome recovery, and on shame recovery. So my wife and I, we're heading out to go work out, get a good workout tonight. Love you guys. You can develop strength, consistency, agency, and swagger, and you can beat this thing. So go do it. God bless.